Murphy's just proud.
Here we go, Canada, from Edmonton tonight. Friday Night Football. Summer has returned. The first day of summer 2019. And guess who also has returned? It's old home week. The prodigal son of the Eskimos for so many years, Mike Riley, is back.
Yeah, Mike Riley, 6 seasons with the Edmonton Eskimos, back to where it all began as a BC Lion. Visiting Edmonton this time is a guy who won plenty of games wearing the green and gold. Taking over, however, Trevor Harris doing his best in his Eskimos debut to make people forget Mike Riley. 447 passing yards for him, leading an offense that put up over 600.
Jason Moss, his Eskimos 9-9 last season, out of the playoffs. 1-0 this season after a win over Montreal. Huge numbers by Harris last week. The twisted cap of Devon Claybrooks. First-year head coach looking for his first win, a loss at home last week against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Sergio Castillo will kick it off for the Lions here in a windy brick field at Commonwealth Stadium. Eskimos, Martese Jackson picking his way up near the 32 and then goes down and is tagged down. And Trevor Harris, what a dazzling debut in green and gold a week ago.
Yeah, Trevor Harris was terrific. The thing that stood out to me, obviously, about Harris was how precise he was. While he's comfortable in an offensive system in which he has played before, the same philosophy and so on. But it's finding that timing with receivers that he didn't have a ton of time with through training camp in the preseason, but seemed to be right on the mark.
One guy he knows well is number 82. We'll watch him tonight. CJ Gable coming off a terrific week as well. Very balanced attack for the Eskimos in that win over Montreal.
Well, taking a look at the rest of the offense around Trevor Harris, Ricky Collins off to a terrific start. He had 175 yards, career single game high. Jacob Ruby continues to start at the left guard spot, settling in there as the former Montreal Alouette first round pick.
Second down, 6 yards to go. Harris, pump fake, goes over the top, incomplete. For a moment had a receiver, and Trevor Harris quick 2 and out for the Eskimos, and the Lions will get the ball with Hugh O'Neill coming out to punt it away.
Mike Riley prepares to take his first snap of the game.
And he'll hear his first reaction on his homecoming of sorts here. I would imagine there will be a lot of cheers, maybe a few jeers. His decision to leave to go closer to home. But a guy who did so much for this Eskimo franchise, was the franchise the last 6 years here. Brandon Rutley to the 26, and here comes Mike.
Maybe somewhat mixed response for Mike Riley as he takes to the field. See his numbers versus Winnipeg last week. BC offensively in their season opener, I thought, was maybe a little over-anxious to try to push the ball deep. You heard the boys in the studio talk about the very limited run game in week 1. They're going to need to establish that here a bit tonight.
They go to the air right away. Riley is going down right away. Operation Mike Riley begins for his old teammates.
Well, you're going to see all sorts of pressure coming on Mike Riley. They're loading it up, and again, this goes exactly to what I spoke about. Yes, the BC Lions want to try and push the ball deep. You're going to need time, you're going to need protection, and you're going to need to not be predictable. Otherwise, you're going to face all kinds of pressure.
First play, first sack by the Eskimos. They load it up again. Look to bring the house here. Here it comes, and knocked away. And this Eskimo team amped up right now as they were coming big time. And there's a flag down. Brian Walker coming off the edge.
Offside. Edmonton defense. This is a 5-yard penalty. Second down will be repeated.
Maybe a little too amped up.
Well, they were certainly ready. You knew once they had BC in that second and long situation, they were going to try and bring that heat. Brian Walker coming from the left edge of your screen. He was the three-man who came in and got hands on that, but may have been lined up just offside.
Walker filling in for Don Unamba this week for the Eskimos. A few injuries from week 1. Second down now. Riley took a shot to the head, is almost brought down, and then is crunched by Larry Dean, the new dean of the Eskimos defense coming from the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And Mike Riley thinking that he took a head hit here. Let's take a look. Almost a horse collar.
Yeah, that was Mike Moore, the first man who came in and caught him up high. Riley looking for Devon Claybrooks to throw a challenge flag, and he does.
And he does right away. Challenge flag comes down from Devon Claybrooks. It almost looked like Mike Moore got a piece of the helmet.
BC is challenging the ruling on the field. They believe there was roughing the passer on their quarterback. The play will be reviewed.
We will review it. Command will review it. We'll come back to Friday Night Football in Edmonton.
After review by the command center, the quarterback was tackled by the face mask, which is part of the roughing the passer. So roughing the passer will be called. It will be a 15-yard penalty with an automatic first down for BC. BC is keeping one challenge.
So Andre Proulx, our referee tonight, think about this for a second. Dwayne Ford, back-to-back plays. The Edmonton Eskimos really let the BC Lions off the hook here.
Yeah, they certainly did. I mean, they've had BC back on their heels offensively, kind of scrambling and under siege in the early going, but 2 penalties in 3 snaps. As you clearly see the side of the face mask grabbed by Moore coming around the edge. The Lions get new life.
Good challenge by Devon Claybrooks. John White. Backfield. Play. Action pass to Duron Carter. A little read option there on John White. Here's how they line up with John White, who I expect to see the ball a little bit more this week, would you not?
Yeah, certainly. John White limited to just 4 carries last week for 4 yards. He's one of many former Eskimos returning. Joel Figueroa started 15 games at tackle for the Eskimos in 2017 before moving to BC last year. 13 former members of the Edmonton Eskimos playing for the BC Lions here tonight.
The BC Eskimos. Bad snap. Riley lets it go. And the pass is complete. John White over the top. Maybe they'll get John White active out of the backfield as he dumps it down. You can see the one hopper to Mike Riley.
Yeah, free release for John White. Little misdirection if you saw Larry Dean kind of anticipating as he had another route from Lamar Durant cross in front of him, thought that White was going to head for the flat. White took the under as well. Despite Achilles and knee injuries that have cut into his career, John White still got that great change of direction.
Another member of Eskimos teams of the past. And here's how the green and gold line up with their defensive dozen.
Yeah, Kwaku Boateng starts at defensive end, a guy who has evolved into a terrific pass rusher now in his 3rd season. Larry Dean, the man in the middle. Busy offseason in terms of signing free agent linebackers. Dean is kind of the last man standing. On the back end, an injury to Anthony Orange, the former BC Lion during the practice week, means that Josh Johnson is going to move out from boundary halfback to boundary corner. Frequently matching up against Duron Carter here tonight.
Into Edmonton territory, 2nd and 6 from the Eskimo 48. Rush again. Riley, deep shot, has his man, and it's Brian Burnham who hauls it over the shoulder and brings it inside the score zone, down to the red zone, inside the 15-yard line.
They get man coverage here. Brian Burnham, Riley recognized it right away. One-on-one against the halfback, working that corner route. Taekwon Glass making his first start of the season. He's the guy who draws in with Anthony Orange down. Brian Burnham just doing what Brian Burnham does.
Makes the extraordinary look ordinary. Highlight reel catches and keeping his feet in, 1 foot in that time. Riley again, taking some shots as well tonight. Coming back for the football was Carter. That was a dangerous toss. Might have gone the other way had the Eskimos been able to jump that route.
Let's take a look back as once again Mike Riley taking a shot in the backfield, but stands in there, delivers one on the money. Brian Burnham catches that in stride, left foot down inside the white stripe.
Mike Riley, who went with the Eskimos last year, put up monstrous yards. The Eskimos under Riley were best in the red zone, best inside the 20-yard line. Trying to take that to the Lions offense now. Lions struggled somewhat in this zone last year. Sends up 5 receivers. Riley stepping up now, takes it himself, and Mike Riley head over heels.
That was a rocky landing.
That was. Kind of twisted his upper body, but Mike Riley, known to rush that football, takes off and comes close to a first down. Watch this.
Didn't like the position of his neck as he landed upside down here. You're going to see his neck get kind of rocked to the side.
And getting the first down on 3rd down, plunging inside the 5-yard line. But hey, Mike Riley, we have seen him take so much punishment through the years. You know, if he was a superhero, you know, he could go through a lot of names. He might be the Iron Man. Maybe he's Iron Mike.
Yeah, new colors, same Riley.
Just takes punishment, just keeps on going. That's what made him a fan favorite here as well. All of the great things, his durability.
Well, I mean, when you talk about Mike Riley and his time with the Edmonton Eskimos, people talk about the Grey Cup, people talk about an MOP award and helping turn the franchise around. But really, to me, where Mike Riley's identity was made was that first year, 2013, with a 4-14 record.
Hands it off. Sean White has to duck for cover on 1st and goal. Lost a yard or two. There is Vontae Diggs out of Yukon. 2nd game in the Canadian Football League.
Yeah, I like what I've seen so far from Vontae Diggs, first-year CFLer, getting an opportunity to play here in the early going at that weak side linebacker spot. The Eskimos signed Javon Santos-Knox from Winnipeg during the offseason. He's expected to be the starter there, but he opens the season on the injured list, as do many of the free agent signings. But Diggs has looked good.
12th play of the drive. High snap, Riley, end zone, and it's caught. Touchdown, Lamar Durant. Silencer here at Commonwealth, and Mike Riley returns.
Tell him stop pass interference.
And drives his team down the field.
Defensive holding. Edmonton number 19. That penalty will be declined. Result of the play is a touchdown.
And finds one of his new favorite targets. In orange, black, and white. Lamar Durant scored last week against Winnipeg as well. And Mike Riley might be the enemy now in this field, but he knows every angle, every corner, every blade of the field turf here.
And let's go back to how that drive started, though, Rod. Eskimos had him. The Eskimos had them stopped. And a couple of self-inflicted wounds. In terms of penalties, let the Lions off the hook. They recovered because the Lions were rocked by a couple of early shots. They recovered and they seem to have settled in now.
They go for 2. Play action. Goes deep end zone, and it's caught by Shaq Johnson. And an early 8-0 lead on Riley's return to Edmonton. 12 plays, 83 yards, the first score of the game. The Lions strike first on Friday Night Football.
I want you to keep an eye and the A gap between center and guard for John White, the running back, who's going to step up from the backfield. One of the smallest guys on the field, listed at 5'8", about 190 pounds. Steps up in that A gap and takes on the bull rush of middle linebacker Larry Dean. That secures the pocket for Mike Riley, allows time for things to develop. Lamar Durant is on the board.
2 straight weeks for Durant, 2 touchdown completions from Mike Riley. Matisse Jackson. So now Trevor Harris to that long drive and that score by the Lions. A chance to answer after the first 2 and out. Back after this.
There's a bar in every block and it's only 10 o'clock. Yeah,
the CFL on TSN is brought to you by the Nissan Titan, official vehicle of the Canadian Football League. Kind of a cloudy night here. Rain in the forecast earlier, but looks like clear sailing ahead as Mike Riley looks at that opening drive, aided by some Eskimo penalties. An 8-0 Lion lead on Riley's homecoming. Eskimos come out chucking. J.
You mentioned Mike Riley's homecoming. It's Mike Riley's first homecoming, but a homecoming, as we mentioned before, for many BC Lions. Odell Willis among them. Chris Edwards, free agent signing from Edmonton during the offseason. Aaron Grimes as well, moving from Edmonton to what we'll call Edmonton West.
Harris almost picked up. Aaron Grimes was in the vicinity, but Jordan Herdman-Reed also may have been able to knock that away. Herdman-Reed playing in the middle. No Solomon Elamimian anymore, and indeed it was off him and Grimes.
Aaron Grimes, 11 interceptions in his 5 seasons in green and gold, where he nearly had his first in black and orange.
Again, 2 and out for the Eskimos. Boom, a kick. Brandon Rutley turned a kick last week for a touchdown, not this week. Mike Riley returns to the field, this field where he was Magic Mike for so many years. 6, a Grey Cup, an MOP, some glory. Now trying to spoil the Eskimos party here tonight as a member of the BC Lions.
I want to thank the city of Edmonton. I've spent the last 5 years of my life playing football there, and so many things have changed on the field, out the field, and I wouldn't change any of it for anything in the world. I love playing for Edmonton. I love putting on the green and gold every day. Every time I put that jersey on, I don't take it for granted.
Well, and then, of course, in this offseason with so much seismic activity and free agency, Mike Riley went back closer to home, state of Washington, and to the BC Lions, where his career began.
Yeah, Mike Riley was kind of the linchpin that got it all started in free agency this offseason. You see what he did during his time as an Edmonton Eskimo. You know, while he returns to the BC Lions, the fact is, you know, a piece of Mike Riley, I think, will always remain with the Edmonton Eskimos. He leaves a legacy here.
Community guy, hero here. So many great quarterbacks. And how about John White? High-stepping and already piling up more yardage on that run than all of last week. The entire accumulation of rushing yardage for the Lions. Just 4 yards last week. 27 for the former Eskimo right here.
Nice work from his offensive line. Suk Chung, who needs a helmet.
Yeah. Suk lost his lid and still kept on chugging. John White did that for many years here, and again, as Dwayne mentioned, Achilles tendon that ruptured, an ACL, hard luck guy. Boy, can he play. Riley unloading, Shaq Johnson catching. And Mike Riley has come out gunning here tonight.
Well, Shaq Johnson is the outside receiver in that 3-man cluster. Like a little bit of confusion as they tried to sort out the three receivers. You saw Godfrey Onyeka on the corner. As he realizes Johnson's going deep, he's trying to back off in a hurry to get there. Money Hunter scrambling from the middle, well-placed ball. They find the gap between those two defenders.
38 yards after a 27-yard carry. Big yardage, Riley ducks now, and now gets on the outside and will take it out of bounds. He was brought down. He was already out of bounds. Monte Diggs giving chase. 3:21 to go in this opening quarter, which has been all Lions so far.
See Mike Riley showing no hesitation whatsoever to tuck that ball and run. Now bear in mind, a couple of things to think about in terms of the team's rosters. BC only dresses 2 quarterbacks. They don't want to see Mike Riley take a lot of shots. Edmonton only dressing 60 linemen.
Check down to Rutley into the backfield, and they're going to be short of a first down on second down. And this will bring out the kick team now. Drive will stall here. Yeah, but Mike Riley did not run with the football last week. Again, wanted more balance this week. We saw that in that drive just now, but again, the best they're going to be able to do is 3 points if Sergio Castillo is successful, replacing Ty Long. The Lions this year, 30-yarder for Castillo. And he'll put it up and he'll put it through. It's 11-0 lead, and Mike Riley looking good so far here tonight in his homecoming of sorts. Here's Sarah Orleski on the sidelines.
Well, Rod, Mike Riley saying on Thursday that he didn't know what to really expect coming into this game. In some ways, that it feels like such a long time ago that he signed in BC when he signed as a free agent in February. But there's certainly going to be mixed emotions with it. He joked that in the past he always used to just use the swipe card, was able to sneak into the back. Obviously, that's not an option. He was the center of attention with everyone being asked questions about him. And you know that defensive line on the Edmonton Eskimos has just been waiting to be able to get after Riley. As Riley joked, for his 6 years here, they were never able to touch him. They certainly wanted to, and while he got the last laugh on that opening drive, they certainly got to him early.
Well, Mike Riley was such a big part of the Eskimos, and you mentioned, you know, those first years and the pain that Mike Riley had to go through from the losing column, but the fight and the fire that this guy had, that awful 4-14 season, was kind of forgotten a couple of years later when you win the Grey Cup.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I mean, that was a starting point. He talked about how much he learned from that year and how hungry it made him. But, you know, in addition to that, as we take a look back at some of his highlights from that 2015 Grey Cup, you know, I mean, that's, when you think about Mike Riley, the number one thing people talk about is toughness. People talk about his leadership. Those were things in terms of his reputation that were forged during the losing years, not during the winning years.
This ball will go out of bounds, and that will give
Legal
the Eskimos
kick out of bounds. BC number 41. Edmonton will elect to take the football at the 45-yard line and a first down.
a good field position off of that miscue by Castillo. And one thing that's different about Mike Riley, that beard, that thing just keeps growing. Such a likable guy, one of the classiest players in the Canadian Football League through the years. And as we mentioned, became such a big part of this community here in northern Alberta. Now Harris trying to get something going outside of 2 minutes here. He's just misfiring. You know, since 2015 though, back at the numbers, do some forensics on that. Mike Riley and Trevor Harris's
Edmonton,
numbers
13.
are actually
Penalties
very,
declined.
very similar.
Second down.
When Harris took over as a starter with the Ottawa Redblacks.
Yeah, they certainly are. Obviously, slightly different style in terms of how they play the game, but the end result very similar. Two guys who have been productive, two guys who have won more than they've lost.
Over the top, there's the completion to Greg Ellingson, his old battery mate in Ottawa, and the similarity for both of those guys is Jason Moss as well, being around. Moss in Ottawa, Moss in Toronto, and Moss now in Edmonton, and Trevor Harris and Ellingson. What a 1-2 punch in their years in Ottawa.
Yeah, Ellingson tucked in almost in a tight end type of position. You see, he just finds a seam, finds a little hole between the two linebackers. Jordan Herdman-Reed and Malik Harris, and sits it down.
Into BC territory. CJ Gable spun to the turf. Sets up a throwing down here for Harris, who again had a gigantic week, his debut last week. Fourth career 400-yard plus game, 447 yards. Second down conversions were a key last week. It was 14 for 14 on short yardage. High completion last week. This one's 2nd and 9 though. Here's the rush. There goes the ball, and Ricky Collins can't bring that down, and it'll bring out Sean White. Or will it?
Well, the wind would be at his back. You're going to see the leaping BC Lion defender here, Jordan Herdman-Reed. I think his jump just in front of Ricky Collins created just enough of a distraction.
White hesitated for a moment. Jason Moss said, hang on a second, hang on, before he went out. He's out there now, but Jason Moss now has thrown a challenge flag. And he'll see if this flag will work out like Devon Claybrook's challenge did earlier. Likely an interference challenge or a contacting the receiver challenge.
Edmonton is challenging the ruling on the field. They believe there was defensive pass interference on Edmonton 82. The play will be reviewed.
Well, Greg Ellingson releasing out of the slot. Got tangled up. It looked like incidental contact. Keep an eye on Aaron Grimes in that BC secondary. He starts to widen. Trips up Ellingson. Ball ends up in that territory.
Like you say, incidental, and not clearly, but not really away from the play. I mean, it's right in on that play.
Yeah, well, and clearly affecting the route of Greg Ellingson.
Maybe even Ricky Collins with somebody down behind him might affect the way he goes up for it. Maybe not, but
yeah, it changes. What it changes is the kind of the spacing of the play, because Ellingson's going to be deeper. Is going to take defenders with him, which allows Ricky Collins a little more space underneath if it plays out as drawn up.
Ellingson part of the free agent frenzy in the offseason. He and Trevor Harris, Henry Burris before him. Stars in Ottawa. So command has it right now, and Aaron Grimes, another player returning. There's the veteran defensive guru, Rich Stubler. Back in the league again.
Tell Hurd on the hey Hurd.
Two great defensive minds right there.
You can't pass him. He's 3. Okay, I got you. Just have to play with him, right? Okay, yes, sir.
A couple of guys who would have crossed paths before in Calgary.
We have a verdict from CFL Command. Here's Andre Proulx once again.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. There's no foul on the play. Edmonton is charged 1 timeout.
Well, I think you said
and
it
they're out
best.
of challenge for the remaining of the game.
Incidental conduct.
Aaron Grimes looks like he feels like he might have gotten away with one there. The play goes on, so it'll be Sean White on to attempt the kick.
Final minute, opening quarter. 44-yarder for the veteran and the former Lion. Sean White, kick is up, and that will put the Eskimos on the board. Challenge didn't work out, but White did.
Make your escape with intelligent all-wheel drive in the Nissan Qashqai.
There he is, the dependable leg of Sean White. White Rock, BC native, former Lion, former Alouette, and Eskimo. High percentage through his career, one of the best percentages in CFL history. More
Nicholson.
A little more jacked up than normal, as folks. Pat and Tom here tonight from White Rock, BC, made the trek. I think he's looking over at them. There it is. Likely final play barring penalty of this first quarter. It's been eventful. Riley again whips it into Durant. He's become a favorite target, but there is a flag. And again, they may have got to Mike Riley a little late here. This Eskimo
roughing
team.
the passer, Edmonton. Number 93, Edmonton, 15 yards, automatic.
Kwaku Boateng, and we talked about that adrenaline rush. You know, Riley's in the crosshairs here tonight, but this is a number of times now that they've got him close to late or late.
Yeah, watch Boateng on the right side of your screen. Ball's gone.
Whoa.
BC elected to have the penalty applied to open the second quarter. This is quarter time.
BC doing that because they'll be with the wind when they come back. 1 quarter complete. Mike Riley doing what Mike Riley used to do as an Eskimo. And he leads the way. The Lions ahead 11-3 on Friday Night Football on TSN from Edmonton. Theme of the night, returning Riley, and Mike Riley returns and looking good so far. 8 of 9 passing, 89 yards, 16 yards rushing, 108 passing yards for Riley and the BC Lions, who lead 11-3. I know Mike Riley had a chance to chat with us yesterday, talked about this game this week. He said it was another game, just another game. Do you buy it?
I think it's hard for it to be another game. You certainly approach it in terms of your preparation, doing all the things that you do in any other week. But there are going to be some things emotionally when you sort of spent the time that Mike Riley spent in Edmonton and had the experiences that he had in Edmonton. There are going to be some emotional moments along the way, but you do your best to keep it all on an even keel.
Eskimos penalties are really killing them right now. That 15-yarder puts the ball into Eskimo territory, and Riley doing some dancing, and now throws. There's another flag on the far side as Riley avoids the sack.
Yeah, it looked to me like Brian Walker, who's in at the nickel linebacker spot, might have jumped again trying to time up his blitz off the edge.
Hey, they offside, right?
Offside. Edmonton, number 29, a 5-yard penalty. Remains first down.
Walker again in the lineup in place of Don Unumba, who was injured at the end of the first half of last week's game against Montreal. Very involved in that rush package thus far.
Walker's got to settle down, so the Eskimos. John White spinning. Gets back to the initial line of scrimmage. Set up a throwing down. And here is the life of Riley tonight.
Well, the Eskimos certainly came in with a bit of a plan to send the house, but seems like Riley and the Lions weathered the early storm and took advantage of a couple of Eskimo penalties in that first series to keep the drive alive. Marched down the field. In a lot of ways, they've flipped the script on Edmonton here in the early going. They've done a decent job, one run in particular, running the football, but to keep the Eskimo defense honest and controlling the clock.
Riley stays in the pocket and tries to deliver to Burnham. Once again, flag in the backfield.
And the flag in the backfield.
And Mike Riley is seeing a lot of his ex-mates up close and personal here, but maybe too close right now for Jason Moss and the Eskimos. This is going to march more yardage off, it looks
Illegal
like.
contact on receiver. Edmonton number 23. This is a 10-yard penalty. Major foul. Roughing the passer.
Oh my
Edmonton
goodness.
number 93. We're going to go 15 yards.
Well,
automatic first down.
Usually you use the D word as in defense. Tonight the D word is discipline, and a lack of it from the Eskimos.
Keep an eye right here as Carter gets pulled down.
Riley got a shot to the mask. So penalties, penalties, penalties. Moving the ball for the Lions early second quarter into the red zone once more. Scored earlier. Riley to Lamar Durant. Burnham in motion. White in the backfield. Riley the gun. Dumping it off to Durant Carter. Twisted to the turf. Forrest Hightower. Here is that roughing the passer moments earlier.
Yeah, keep an eye on Kwaku Boateng. He's coming from the top right of your screen, right side of that defensive line. Just as he's reaching to try to get a hand on the ball as it's thrown, the follow through and the hand to the face of Mike Riley was the roughing the passer portion of that double penalty.
Eskimos trying to limit the Lions again to a field goal attempt. Riley has other thoughts. Riley end zone and an overthrow. Durant again. So Castillo will come out. And the Eskimos might be fortunate again as Durant is into it with Money Hunter. And this is one where the Eskimos have already taken a ton of penalties. And a flag was just thrown. Best to just walk away from that. And Money Hunter into it with Lamar Durant.
Well, you've got both teams keyed up emotionally for this game. Again, it's not just about the return of Mike Riley, but a lot of former Eskimos coming back to play as members of the BC Lions, and there's a level of emotion that goes along with that. But the 2019 Eskimos, I feel like they have something to prove here too, particularly when Mike Riley is on the field. And they're playing with a level of emotion. Both teams need to kind of put a lid on it and stick to playing football.
Might be offsetting here. The other thing is, remember, the Eskimos probably have a sour taste in the mouth from last season because the Lions denied them a trip to the playoffs, finishing 9-9, same record. Lions eventually crossed over to the East. But the Eskimos, a hungry team, already one win out of the chute last week, and the Lions a loss. So Durant and Hunter, might have been Lamar Durant who was the instigator in this. And then a little extra stuff after.
Yeah, Durant Carter kind of intervened.
There's two fouls on the play. Major foul, unnecessary roughness, BC number 89. Major foul, Edmonton number 41. Both are offsetting, and it occurred after the play. It will be third down.
Well, they missed Lamar Durant though, because that was also part of that. Sometimes you get the guy after. They got Durant Carter. So Sergio Castillo has had some time to warm up. Holder is Danny O'Brien. On the 25. And that kind of wobbles through, but it's through. An 11-point lead now for the BC Lions once more. Trevor Harris, the Eskimos will try to answer. Week 2 continues tomorrow. Argos season opener at home against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Ricky Ray Day tomorrow. Coverage 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific on TSN. Moments ago, Larry Dean taking control of that Eskimos defense.
Yeah, and you want to try and figure out what that huddle was about. Well, here's a hint. BC only has 2 penalties for 36 yards. Edmonton has 9 for 80. You better believe Larry Dean is telling his team to settle down and talk about discipline.
Trevor Harris just 2 of 6 so far, way below what he did last week. Pegs it in there. And Nataya Jay close to a first down. Finally a first down for the Eskimos. Trevor Harris, completely different story on this field a week ago.
Yeah, Trevor Harris was a monster right from the get-go in his Edmonton Eskimo debut, 32 of 41. Nearly 450 yards through the air. Spread the ball around nicely to a number of different receivers. His first 5 completions went to 5 different receivers, really setting the tone.
C.J. Gable fumbles. The Lions have it. Davon Coleman has the football. C.J. Gable just coughed it up, and now the BC Lions are right back at it. Mike Riley, no time to rest to Claybrooks. You can appreciate that. The head coach, who was one of those D linemen in his time in the Canadian Football League, they love to eat when that ball's on the ground.
BC defense does a good job getting contained on this play, running to get outside leverage. This forces C.J. Gable to settle down, set his feet. Claudel Lewis with the reach, right hand pops that ball out. And his partner at the defensive tackle spot.
There's something you don't see every day from a head coach.
I never once saw Wally Buono do that.
Or Mark Trestman. I just didn't see that. Here's Deron Carter. Hey, that's Devon Claybrooks too, though.
Mama! Big baby! Let's go! Big baby! What up, mama?
3 characters. It is a different BC Lion culture right now. There is no doubt.
Yeah. Devon Claybrooks' era, you get a sense, has officially begun.
It's kind
right
of
there,
a
a guy,
skew.
former defensive tackle himself. He likes to see the big boys have an opportunity to get the pigskin in their hands.
Second and short yardage. White in the pistol here. And no. Big stop by the Eskimos as the Lions are going to try to put some points on the board off turnovers, but the best that they'll do is a field goal. So again, bend not break for this Eskimo team.
I want you to keep an eye here on number 75, Nick Usher at defensive end. The fullback, David Mackey's going to come across to block him, but Usher is the guy who blows up this play, gets underneath the pads of the fullback, moves him back to close up that hole.
Castillo once more. Think about it for a moment. Lions could be up large here. They still have a pretty big lead. 2 possessions. Castillo makes it 17-3. A lot of field goals, and the Eskimos giving up points off of turnovers and a lot of points off of penalties. Carl Jr. Gable, C.J. Gable, a week ago ran a roughshod over the Montreal Alouettes and really opened up the airspace as well. 154 yards on the ground.
Yeah, this is the thing. People talked a lot about the numbers that Trevor Harris put up. What C.J. Gable and that offensive line did on the ground were huge in terms of keeping the Montreal defense off balance, keeping them honest, and buying time for Trevor Harris in terms of that pass protection.
Down a pair of touchdowns right now. And Trevor Harris trying to ignite this stagnant offense that hasn't been on the field very much. There's Tavon Smith. Toronto-born, former Iowa Hawkeye.
Big things expected of Tavon Smith, former first-round pick. Before embarking on a NFL journey for a couple of years.
Eskimo team that's lost so many star receivers through the last 3 years. Harris now, and what a catch there. That was sweet from Tavon Smith. That's when you have arrived, making catches like that.
A lot of fans watch C.J. Gable, number 2 in the backfield, first of all, helping out in that protection. But for Tavon Smith, the trick catch, nothing new. Smith is a guy that a lot of fans may remember from YouTube a few years ago when he was still in college, setting a record for one-handed catches.
He is a guy who's gone viral and trying to do it in the Canadian Football League now. Big catch by him. Eskimos on the move. Downfield quickly looking for Smith. Back to back to back. Taking a deep shot was Harris this time.
Yeah, kind of feeling like Tavon Smith is getting in the groove a little bit. They try to go to him one more time.
Again, a receiving core depleted by Duke Williams, who's gone south over the last couple of years. Brandon Zylstra, who, by the way, is here tonight. Down south, Darrell Walker tried down there, came back here, and now is elsewhere, of course. And there it is again. So the combination right now is 7-4. And it's close to a first down. The Eskimos are going to go for it here. 3rd and almost 2 yards.
Well, trying to generate some momentum. BC has dominated time of possession so far. The Eskimos need to keep some drives alive, and this is something they did so well last week, avoiding 2 and outs. Give that defense a break.
3rd down and 2. Harris dumps it down. Kenny Stafford, first down. Had to go down low for that one. Sure-handed Kenny Stafford is one of the holdovers from this receiving core that's been shredded by departures the last couple of seasons.
Yeah. Kenny Stafford coming from bottom to top on your screen. Series of crossing routes designed to create a little traffic and free people up. Nice adjustment to the tip ball there from Kenny Stafford.
Well-traveled native of Columbus, Ohio. College ball in Toledo and has been around the CFL. Look out, Trevor Harris now. Sidearm over to Gable. And they made something out of what looked like a loss. Maybe got a half yard, and there was a penalty flag down. Like there were a number of players who were offside on this play. Past the midway point of the second quarter, a
offside.
Game that has been all visitors.
Edmonton number 8.
Stafford jumping.
After review, there's no infraction on the play. It will be second down.
So again, the eye in the sky, getting that down to Andre Proulx. And again, correcting that. It looked like Kenny Stafford was well offside, though. Second and 9. Harris, the drop, and incomplete once more. Eskimo offense stalls and sputters once more.
And 3rd down.
3rd down, they won't gamble this time. It will be Sean White once more. This is against the wind. Kicking into this north end zone. Pretty healthy breeze. Chatted with White before the game about the wind out here. He has all of this analysis. When I talked to him about the wind, what he said, all my thing is, just hit it through. Knock it through. Will he? Yes, he will. Sean White, night tonight. 11-point game again. Sarah Orleski with a special guest on Friday Night Football next. Simply put, one of the best ever. Pro Football Hall of Famer, 3-time Super Bowl champion. Guy who did it all in his time down south. Shannon Sharpe is in the house tonight. Also does a lot of stuff on TV. He's with Sarah.
Thank you so much. This is actually the first CFL game that Shannon Sharpe has taken in person. What have your thoughts been so far?
I'm impressed. It's tackle football. You know, I actually have a friend of mine that I played with that's a coach for the BC team. But I like it. I mean, I love football. And obviously the rules are a little different. The guys are allowed to move horizontal as opposed to in the NFL you can only move laterally before the snap of the ball. The field's a little wider. But other than that, I'm familiar with it. I knew Warren Moon, who I played with and played against. Well, I played against him. We're in the Hall of Fame together, so I'm very familiar with the CFL.
I wanted to ask you as well that last week there was the unfortunate passing of Pat Bull at the age of 75, and he spent many years Alberta, raised here, but mostly was the owner of the Denver Broncos. And when you think about Pat, how will you remember him?
His unselfishness, winning the Super Bowl. If you own a team, the highest award you can receive is winning the championship in that particular sport. And when he won it, instead of heaping basking in his own praise, he said, "This one's to John." It lets you know the unselfishness that this man, he believed, he lived by, and his legacy, the foundation that he set for the Broncos will endure for an extended period of time.
Well, we appreciate the time. So happy to see you up here taking in the CFL game. We'll let you enjoy it. Again, appreciate you stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
Shannon Sharp, who also is in that Pro Football Hall of Fame with Pat Bullen, the late Pat Bullen. They honored him here last week, a guy who grew up in this area in the finance world and of course became that owner of a team that was like a dynasty, the Denver Broncos. Shannon Sharp. Also a very sharp tongue, by the way. Great TV guy. I love his brother Sterling. Had a chance to play. He was my partner at a golf game this week. He does not like me very much right now because I sucked. And he can play. Sterling was a great player too.
15-yard penalty, first down, Edmonton.
It's nice to see Shannon come up here. I find it interesting that that's the first time he's got a chance to see a CFL game live.
Yeah.
So under 5 minutes to play before halftime. Eskimos have been kind of hanging around in this one, considering they had some early problems shooting themselves in their cleats with penalties.
Put together a decent drive last time, flipping the field a little bit, moving the football, eating up a bit of time on the clock, but just not a lot to show thus far with a couple of long Sean White field goals.
Can't get CJ Gable going.
This has been one of the big differences between this week and last for their entire offense. I really believe that as much as it's this high-powered rushing attack, or excuse me, this high-powered passing attack that everybody's going to talk about, I think it begins with their ability to run the football, because that is what is going to solidify their protection. You look at it last week, Gable 154 yards rushing, less than 10 yards rushing in the first half of this ball game.
2nd and 8. Harris zips it in. Again, it's Ellingson, one of the biggest plays for the Eskimos tonight. Two biggest passing plays have both been to Ellingson. This one's for 27. Takes it down to the 42.5.
You're getting Greg Ellingson moved around a little bit within that offensive scheme. As you saw that time, he's lined up out wide. Defense gives him a pretty good cushion. He takes advantage.
Harris is getting back to last week's percentage numbers. Has completed 6 of his last 8 after a slow start. So he's starting to get a little unglued.
A late flag was thrown there. There seemed to be some pushing and shoving at the end of the play.
After the play, unnecessary roughness, BC number 24, a 15-yard penalty enforced from the end of the play, and a first down, Edmonton.
Well, the Eskimo faithful now seeing the benefit of the flags the other way. Chris Edwards, former Eskimo, part of the contingent returning here tonight. Harris again now. Screen pass, Gable. Nice. A defender missing a big way. Put a bit of loss. Turns into almost a 5-yard pickup.
Chris Edwards sniffed this play out in a hurry, and he's like a
heat-seeking missile.
Yeah, coming after CJ Gable, but you got to come in under control. If he comes in looking to tackle and wrap up as opposed to blow him up, he makes a big play there.
3-minute warning before halftime, and the Eskimos on the move.
Yeah, it's a long shot, but it's all there.
Back in the studio getting set for halftime. Hey, the Eskimos should know better than to give Mike Riley a second chance. We're going to talk about the penalties for Edmonton in that first half. And also, Devon Claybrooks has a very good track record game planning against Trevor Harris. We'll also look ahead to the Argos and the Ticats at BMO Field tomorrow, all at the half as we go back to Rod and Dwayne.
All right, thank you guys. Forward to that. Right at the red zone. 20-yard line. Ellingson goes high, brings it down, and brings it down inside the 5-yard line. 17-yard pickup. Ellingson a little quiet last week in the win over Montreal, but you can see why he's going to become a fan favorite here in Edmonton.
Yeah, I mean, Greg Ellingson has established himself as one of the most consistent receivers in the Canadian Football League, particularly during his time in Ottawa, but he was productive in Hamilton before that when given an opportunity as well.
First and goal. Chance to make it a one-possession ball game. No, swallowed up. C.J. Gable. Nowhere to go. Darius Allen stops him in his tracks. Gulp.
A big defensive play there. Darius Allen, part of that D-line rotation. Another former Eskimo.
So a key second down now. Eskimos just 2 field goals on the board so far. Looking, sniffing end zone. Going end zone. In the end zone, touchdown, and Devon Smith has his first CFL touchdown. Well, the highlight reel guy now has a souvenir.
Devon Smith working right to left across that end zone, gets inside position on his man. Nice job by Trevor Harris to put a little bit of arc on that football.
And almost hit that crossbar. Smith's first. Sean White, point after. And it is a 4-point ball game.
Oh, you said rocket.
Suddenly, the tide has completely turned here late in the second quarter.
Devon Smith lines up in the slot to the right side. Get a little stem to the outside, quick fake. He got that good release driving through the inside shoulder of the defender, Malik Harris. Once he's got position, Trevor Harris knows he's got him. He just needs to lead him. Taking advantage of the full 20 yards of that end zone. Recognizing he can throw it a little bit deeper. Good placement, good catch, and Devon Smith has the first of what I'm sure will be many in the Canadian Football League.
Dwayne, he might become the same kind of guy that we talked about when a lot of people around here didn't know Darrell Walker. Then they got to know him. They didn't know Brandon Zylstra. They got to know him. They didn't know Duke Williams. They got to know him.
Yeah, I mean, within this offense, every receiver is going to have opportunities to shine.
Brandon Rutley shakes and shimmies up near the 35, but there's still time. Mike Riley, the master of the 2-minute offense.
Going to work here to try and regain some momentum.
They've been waiting for this guy for the last couple of years. He spent some time trying to cut it in the National Football League.
Yeah, first-round pick in 2016. Devon Smith was chosen 8th overall. The Eskimos knew they were going to have to wait for him. He was headed to Indianapolis at that time. They ended up waiting a few years. He's now down there talking to Brandon Zylstra on the Eskimo bench.
Zylstra visiting. Riley's 10 of 14, 116. Trouble, but throws it up for grabs. It is picked off. Intercepted. Taekwon Glass. He too has a souvenir. Taekwon Glass bringing it down after Mike Riley threw it up.
Armando Sewell in the middle of that D line. Told Sarah before the game he was dying to get his hands on Mike Riley. He supplies a little bit of pressure here. Taekwon Glass, the former Montreal Alouette, comes up with a big play to leap in front of Duron Carter to steal this one.
9 games in Montreal last year. Couple of knockdowns, no picks though. Has a pick as he draws in this week. Eskimos could get the lead before halftime. They can get it to the end zone. At the very least, a field goal attempt and back to Ellingson. And boy, has momentum ever shifted here.
It certainly has. And I know the boys at halftime will talk a little bit about some of the schemes Devon Claybrooks drew up with Calgary that gave Trevor Harris problems. Harris's lowest completion rate against opposing teams against the Calgary Stampeders. But right now, Harris is the guy with all the answers.
So Glass's first interception. Eskimos looking to turn a turnover into points. Gable into a mosh pit in the middle. Maybe has 2. Throwing down. Time running down as Mike Riley threw that one up for grabs. Glass, the native of Pasadena and the Fresno State Bulldog, has one for the trophy case.
Glass drawing into the lineup tonight again with the injury issues that have beset the Edmonton Eskimos. Former Lion Anthony Orange went down in practice this week, so Josh Johnson bumped out to the corner. Glass goes into his spot at half. Comes up with that big play.
Harris threads the needle once more for Stafford. See where the spot is. This might be a little bit short of the first down. And it will be. So it will be a 3rd down. And the Eskimos trying to line up quickly. Half a yard, it looks like. Jason Moss trying to get down to that line to get a good look. Saying inches, more like a half yard from here. Harris will take it himself. And he will. There's a penalty flag. Who moved? Might have been an alignment issue on the line. Being offside here.
Offside. BC number 95. The 5-yard penalty will result in a first down for Edmonton.
Again, that's Darius Allen.
Allen lined up at the defensive tackle spot, one of the closest guys to the football. You don't like to see that mistake.
Lots of time here. Going one way, then the other. A little spin here. And Ellingson slashes his way inside the 10. Nice play call. Harris fakes one way, whips it to Ellingson on the other side. Saw that one in Ottawa for a couple of years.
And Greg Ellingson is a guy that, you know, for all the things that people say about him in a positive sense, no one really talks about how fast he is, but you saw that burst when he took that ball and turned it upfield. Nice job blocking that up by the Eskimo receivers and offensive line to create a lane.
35 to go before halftime. Eskimos could take the lead. Gable crashes down. Jacob Ruby slow to rise. Hobbles back to the huddle. Tavon Smith comes in. Substitutes in here for Ellingson. There's Ruby, number 52, but he's still in.
Back of his leg got rolled up on a bit, but that's life on the offensive line.
He's looking for Ellingson. Touchdown! His first as an Edmonton Eskimo. Greg Ellingson caps off this drive. Little slant. How many times have we called that play, partner, through the years in Ottawa with the Red Blacks?
Quick hitter. He knows the hit is coming, and he got absolutely blasted by Jordan Herdman Reed.
That's what we do. All you
A sure-handed receiver. Hangs on for his first as an Esk.
White again. Now 18 straight points from the Edmonton Eskimos.
They're not going to call it? No, they should have called it. They should have called it.
Who did not have a good start here tonight, but have closed out this first half in style.
Yeah, they've had the momentum for sure the second half of this second quarter. You talk about taking advantage of turnovers. The Taekwon's last pick is followed by a Greg Ellingson heavy drive, concluding with a touchdown catch for number 82.
Two guys in green and gold used to wear red and black. Yep. Achieved such success in the nation's capital. All was started by Taekwon Glass in the turnover. So Mike Riley likely won't get a snap here. 6 seconds, we'll see. Rutley, well, maybe he will. Down to 2, so 1 snap to come for Mike Riley. Started so good for the Eskimos. 11-0 lead, 17-3.
First down, BC.
Well, halftime probably comes at an opportune stage of this game for the BC Lions, a chance to get their feet back under them again as they've been swarmed by the Edmonton Eskimos here to close out the first half.
17 straight points, 17-0 run with that point after. Tale of 2 halves in 1 half. 2 quarters completely different. BC dominates one, the Eskimos the other. 2017 hometown Esks on Friday Night Football. Here's Rod Smith and the boys in the studio. Boys are all here and putting on a show in that first half. Back and forth tug of war here. Punch, counter punch. Here's Mike Riley with Sarah Orlesky.
Mike, what's the first step to getting momentum back to start this third quarter?
Man, we just gotta stop taking penalties. We gotta execute, especially on second down. You stay on the field, put a couple of drives together. I mean, knew it was going to be a tough fight. You know, we came out, we hit them in the first quarter. They came back, hit us in the second. Now we got another half of football to play.
You've spoken about continuing to develop the chemistry between this offense and your receiving core. How do you look at the way that first half overall went from an offensive point of view?
I mean, they're bringing some pressures. They're playing aggressive. There were some things we did really well, others that we didn't, of course. So, you know, when they bring the pressure, we got to be on point with what I'm reading, where I'm throwing the ball, and how we're running routes. And outside of that, we just got to take advantage of first down, put ourselves in second and manageable.
How does it feel like any other game?
Absolutely.
Well, what a start here. Eskimos try to catch the Lions napping, almost did on a short kick. Adam Konar was able to recover it after an initial collision. Hugh O'Neill pops one up. Boom. Konar covers. Good field position here for the Lions to start. They'll have the wind, but they trail by 3 after giving up a 17-point run. Had led 17-3.
A big drive here for the BC Lions after rather a gutsy move to start the second half from Edmonton.
Play action. Riley calls his own number, slides down to the midfield stripe, right in front of Larry Dean. 7-yard pickup.
Now, BC Lions overall doing okay on that scoreboard, but the biggest concern for them at this point offensively has to be the number of shots that Mike Riley has taken in the course of this football game. Now, we know Riley will stand in there, he'll weather the storm, he'll take that, but this is a team that needs him on the field. to be successful.
That was the big play in the first half. Taekwon Glass's interception, 2nd and 3. Riley pegs one. Durant cut down by Glass, but it's a first down.
I know the BC Lions were very excited about the opportunity to sign Lamar Durant in free agency during the off-season. Former star at Simon Fraser University, and a guy who shows flashes of brilliance during his time with the Calgary Stampeders. Just battled injuries, struggled sometimes to stay in the lineup. But if he can stay healthy, he'll be given every opportunity to be among the leading targets in the CFL this season.
Most outstanding Canadian in the Grey Cup game last November on this field. Uh-oh, look out. John White going backwards. And then is sandwiched. Big loss here. White tried to eat it, and now some extracurriculars. Josh Johnson and the Eskimos, I'm sure, had a discussion, maybe even both teams, talking about discipline and composure the first half. Penalties were an issue in that first half. No flags here after all of this.
Yeah, I think John White felt some liberties were taken at the bottom of that pile, and it was Nick Usher that gave him a little extra business.
The guy at the bottom of the pile never wins. Never wins. White staying to block this time. One of those great three-way backs. Runner, catcher, blocker. Protecting Riley, who needs protection and is able to get rid of that. Otherwise, it was another loss, and Riley screaming at the official here. And also, Monte digs up in his grill. Riley thought that they were taking some liberties again in that backfield. A couple extra shots from that Eskimo front. And has a point.
Well, again, up high, we saw Mike Moore get called for a very similar play on the first series.
BC's challenging the ruling in the field.
BC is likely going to win this challenge again.
The play will be reviewed.
Yeah, I mean, at a glance, it looks like the same call that got overturned in BC's favor on one of the first plays of this football game.
Mike Riley likely will be back out in the huddle when we come back after the review.
After review, there is roughing the passer, Edmonton number 96, a 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Man, deja vu.
Yeah, I mean, this is the same play from Mike Moore, number 96, coming right down the hash mark. Reaches high as Mike Riley ducks. He ends up grabbing the face mask. You can see Riley's helmet turned as a result.
So this second half begins the way the first half began. Mike Riley, same thing, roughed up by Mike Moore early in the ball game. Led to a touchdown drive. Their only major score so far. Keeps this drive going, otherwise they were punting. Riley back to pass, three-man rush, and he's going deep down the rail, and it's a jump ball. Looking for Brian Burnham, incomplete. There is some intensity on this field tonight, just the second game of the CFL season for both teams, but keep in mind, they meet 3 times this year, and every meeting between these two, I'm sure, reeks of more importance based on what happened last year. Yeah. BC won 2 of 3. Ended up getting the playoff spot because of that.
Yeah, ultimately the deciding factor was that season series.
Don't normally have these kind of games in June. Motor is running high. Here comes the house, the blitz. Look out, Mike Riley. Now he goes long, and he has his man, Mr. Ron Carter. And what a defensive play by Forrest Hightower. Ball got there a little late. Hightower goes high and swats it away.
Well, such a long throw allows Hightower time to get there, but you see Duron Carter, he's starting from the number 2 slot, middle of those 3 receivers to the left side of the formation. Working to the post, great a little separation with that outside move, but as the ball hangs up, Hightower closes and able to make a play on the ball.
Mike Riley struggling right now, 1 for his last 7, but Sergio Castillo to bail the Lions out here. 50-yarder. Kick is up, it's close, but it is good. We're all tied at 20. Great defense from Forrest Hightower. Grey Cup champion. Takes one away from Duron Carter. The MLS on TSN continues tomorrow. Toronto FC, FC Dallas, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, only on TSN. Early in the day, of course, Argos at BMO against the Cats. Great night to be a young football fan. Things you love about Northern Alberta. Late sunsets. Lights are on, no Friday night lights. Watching this one. Tie ball game. CJ Gable, will they get him in tow this half?
Yeah, that looked a little bit more like week 1. CJ Gable busting it up the middle in the offensive line. Getting their groove on a little bit.
Trevor Harris started slowly, a little shaky here tonight. Strong finish to the first half.
There you go, Chris.
Drops it to his big fullback Smits, Calvin McCarty, veteran of this team.
Calvin McCarty drafted way back in 2007 by the Edmonton Eskimos. This is year 13, all spent with the Eskimos.
Well, Mike Riley has gone 1 for his last 7. Trevor Harris, 10 for his last 10. 2nd and 2. Just on this side of the Eskimo field. Oh, and Lions are saying incomplete. Ricky Collins, who inherited Mike Riley's legendary number 13 upon being signed this year, making the squad.
Illegal contact on receiver. BC number 6. A 10-yard penalty will result in a first down.
That was away from the play. TJ Lee keeps the drive alive for the Eskimos.
Keep an eye, TJ Lee matched up with Kenny Stafford right here. You see a little grab as Stafford aims to get his release.
That was not exactly egregious foul. Wow. 1st and 10. Gable again. Eskimo team a year ago 40. Jason Mossy off to the races. A 6-3 start. Ran into some injury issues, and then also Sky just fell in the final half of the season. 3-6 finish. Finished out of the playoffs. There goes Gable again, hanging on, and the Gable guy brings it down inside the 30-yard line.
And the Eskimos coming out here in the second half with a much stronger commitment to establishing the ground game. Control that ball, wear down the BC defense a little bit. Veteran defensive coordinator Rich Studler.
Well, it's been CJ Gable up the gut a couple of times already. Collins in motion, a J in motion. Harris swings it out. Ricky Collins Jr. bites and scrapes and claws for the first down. Had a big week last week, his first as an Eskimo. Did a lot of this last week.
Collins quiet tonight compared to his week 1 performance. 9 catches for $175. But such is the nature of this Eskimo offense. That ball is going to get spread around.
Ellingson, Smith beside Harris. Devon Smith has a couple blocks. Smith close to another first down. This has been masterful play calling in this drive from the Eskimos offense.
Yeah, mixing things up a little bit. And you see how it holds the defense. Look at the space Devon Smith has, the time Trevor Harris has as they go off play action on a drive where C.J. Gable has been doing the majority of the damage.
2nd and inches. They'll now go 1st and goal. An Eskimo team that just was ice cold to start this game is red hot right now. Much to the chagrin of Rich Stubler, Devon Claybrooks, and the Lions. Their defense has been on the field a lot since midway through that 2nd quarter. Harris looking to punch it in again. Gives it off to CJ. Not this time. Set up 2nd and goal.
2nd down, Eskimos.
We'll see where that ball goes in this short yardage situation. C.J. Gable joked with us yesterday when asked about the difference now that Mike Riley has moved on from Edmonton. He says, I get more touchdowns now.
Well, this was always Mike Riley territory.
The two of them had a bit of a running joke that Mike was never going to give C.J. the ball inside the 5. He was always going to keep it himself.
Riley had 13 rushing touchdowns a year ago, not as many as James Franklin, who ironically maybe learned a little bit from Mike when he was here in Edmonton. Franklin had 14 last year, but anywhere in this territory, that was Mike Riley's office. Might see CJ again here. Don't really see Trevor Harris do that too often. Never really saw it in Ottawa. Malik Harris going to the sideline. Let's see. Gable has 12 carries, 47 yards. And it is Trevor Harris. Touchdown. Like that. Wonder how CJ feels about that. That is, it seems, the quarterback's time down there for the Edmonton Eskimos the last few seasons. It used to be Mike Riley calling his number. Now it's Harris. The play call, the touchdown. The Eskimos a point away from going up 27-20. Outstanding drive from Edmonton. Double E. Mix and match. And great balance here. Harris, the punctuation point, the exclamation point. David Beard, the spike. Eskimos, the lead. Now Trevor Harris calls his own number, using all his teammates in that drive. On the Lions sideline, Anthony Thompson and Gary Peters getting into it.
Differences resolved quickly over there.
And now that Lion defense is getting battered up. Now Brandon Rutley took one back last week against Winnipeg. Late flag here on that Lion sideline. Former Montreal Alouette, 33-yard return. To see if that will stay or even be advanced. Frustration right now for the Lions. Got a 14-point lead. And we're cruising.
So Claybrooks suggesting that the cover team came down, cutting down or cut down at least one of the blockers, which
Ring a return. Cut block. Edmonton. A 15-yard penalty will be enforced from the end of the run, and a first down.
Watch for number 70, kicker Hugh O'Neill, which, I mean, typically you don't want your kicker taking on a lot of blocks, and O'Neill protecting himself a little bit.
Mike Riley trying to answer. Just the one touchdown for Lamar Durant. Now trying to get Duron Carter going. Last week against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, the Lions also seemed to have control at a point, and then the Bombers took over. Those field goals that the Lions took in the first half kind of coming back to haunt them here. Their inability to close out drives.
That need to finish, and you know, for any team, you hope it's something that you overcome as the season goes on, and you become a more finely tuned machine offensively.
See if they get Carter going some more. That's what they're thinking. Ron Carter, the colorful player through the years. Montreal and Saskatchewan, Toronto, played both sides of the ball. Mercurial for sure. Boy, an interesting guy with a lot of opinions. I'll tell you one thing, he will not give you a cliche answer, and that is refreshing. A guy who wants to win, trying to win.
Well, he does, and I think where, you know, I mean, part of the character of Duron Carter gets misunderstood is that he is genuinely a guy that wants to learn and pushes and challenges a lot in an effort to do that.
John Watson to the 40-yard line.
You know, I think one of the challenges for BC in the course of this football game, we saw the same thing last week for the Lions, is just to make sure that they don't fall into a rut of trying to force the ball deep a lot, constantly looking for the big play. I can appreciate where that
happened a lot last week.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, you look at the numbers from week 1, and the Lions attempted more deep balls, more passes of 20+ yards than anyone in the league. They attempted 12. Nobody else in the league attempted more than 8. So they were just 3 of 12 on those deep pass attempts. And again, it goes along a little bit with a run game that was non-existent. You're trying to develop time and protection to get the ball deep. I think you need to set some of that up. There's an opportunity for them to have a good intermediate game with Durant and Burnham playing from the slots. Carter is a good run after the catch guy as well. You know, again, I appreciate the temptation with Duron Carter, with Ryan Burnham as well, with the speed of Shaq Johnson to try and push the ball deep. But I think the Lions want to make sure that they become balanced, not just in terms of their overall attack, but in terms of their passing attack, in terms of the distribution of where the ball is going.
Could not have been closer without actually being a first down. So Mike Riley's likely just going to lay over the line here. 3rd and inches. Easily done. Again, on that play, the quarterback has to take a couple of shots. So with 3:30 to go in the 3rd quarter, Devon and his offensive Lions trying to find a way to counter punch again. Eskimos have dominated since the end of the 1st quarter. Into the scoreboard in possession. Let's see what Riley has up store now. Philip Lawley, the new defensive coordinator for the Eskimos, trying to devise a strategy. They've been coming at Riley all night. Here they come again. That was off, and someone on that sideline, a photographer, just got shot there from Josh Johnson. He's up, he's okay. Camera's good. Again intended for Duron Carter.
Carter, the outside man, reading the defenders playing off, so he's going to break that route off short.
It is dangerous down there.
The camera guy's got to use his hands to play off the cut block.
Okay, though. That head on a swivel. 2nd and 10. Key down here. Riley in trouble. Down he goes. Nick Usher got to him first. Finished off by a couple more. And another sack. The Eskimos on their ex-mate.
Usher fakes like he's going to drop into coverage before rushing up the middle.
So again, another drive, 40. Results in a field goal attempt. Both kickers are perfect so far. 6 for 6. Steele trying to continue that streak, and he does. Now the Eskimos D rises up here once more. Getting to Mike Riley. 2 sacks tonight. 4-point game. He was a guy who virtually came out of nowhere. Became a household name in Edmonton. Number 83, Brandon Zylstra. Parlayed those abilities and talents, catching passes from Mike Riley into a spot with the Minnesota Vikings in the National Football League. And Brandon's in the house tonight, and he's with Sarah.
Thank you so much, Brandon. When you look at the rosters for both of these teams now, you played with so many of the players on both sides, but you were one of the favorite targets, obviously, of Mike Riley. What is it like to see him in a Lions uniform?
It looks awkward. It really does. Like they just called a sack on them or whatever, and it's so weird to have the announcer be so hyped up for Mike Riley to go down, so it's just not something I'm used to yet.
No, you spent last year in the NFL. Did you still follow along with what was going on with the Eskimos?
Oh yeah, I have so many good friends up here that I follow along. I'm even following more along this year just because I know so many guys out here, and everybody's kind of everywhere now.
Having played the Minnesota Vikings and being a Minnesota-born guy, what was that like to suit up for your home team?
I mean, it was a dream come true. That's the team I watched growing up. So it was just kind of cool to bring everything full circle and go back home.
Well, we wish you the best of luck with the upcoming season. Thanks so much for taking the time with us tonight.
Yes, thank you.
Rod?
There he is, Zed, or for those of you watching down south, Z, Brandon Zylstra. What a tremendous pass catcher. Played primarily special teams with the Vikes last year. 2nd year upcoming of a 3-year deal, but again, one of those guys that the Eskimos was able to find the last couple of years, and he has made that into a National Football League career. Out of the backfield, Gable. TJ Lee catches him in mid-flight.
Taken down by number 6, TJ Lee.
Now the Eskimos bring in Natea J and Tavon Smith for this 2nd down and 5. They have certainly implemented more number 2 into the game plan in this 2nd half. 13 in a row now for Trevor Harris. Hands it off to CJ. There's number 2. They might mark him just a little bit short. Needs to get right to the midfield stripe, the 55-yard line. Let's see if that nose of the football gets on it. No, they'll be short. Time ticking down on the 3rd quarter. Looks like we're in for a finish in the 4th here in week 2. Harris will call his own number. And will successfully move the sticks.
Yeah, this game's going to get interesting as it goes into the 4th quarter.
And the wind.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen the Edmonton Eskimos over the course, particularly in the 3rd, even more so than they did in the 2nd, really start to get CJ Gable involved and let that great big offensive line lean on the BC Lions defense. We'll see how much the Lions have left in the tank going into the 4th.
And it could favor the Eskimos in the 4th. With that wind blowing tonight. Harris stands in, unloads, look out, touchdown, Greg Ellingson. Baby. Long bomb, Harris to Ellingson. Final play, 3rd quarter. And that one was into the wind.
Make plays on the ground, force the defense to honor the run, buys you time when you go to the passing game, allows the deep plays to open up. Greg Ellingson right down the pipe, perfectly thrown ball by Trevor Harris. Ellingson with his second major of the night.
Ellingson, who had 6 touchdowns with the Hamilton Tiger Cats before moving to Ottawa, where he had 30 touchdowns and a playoff touchdown for the ages that no one will ever forget. You talked about his speed. Hamilton Tiger Cats know he's fast. Remember that? Miracle on Bank Street. Now 2 touchdowns here tonight. You showed that speed again. That extra gear.
That was coming. Hey, I ain't gonna lie to you. You gonna see me over on the sideline. Over there.
Offside. BC. A 5-yard penalty will be enforced on the kickoff.
And a guy, Ellingson, very similar kind of receiver to Zylstra. The way he could separate. Great hands. And Zylstra's got a great vantage point from the sideline here tonight.
There was no play. The whistle. There was no play. The whistle went prior to the ball being snapped. We're going to replay the convert, and a 5-yard penalty will be applied on the subsequent kickoff.
Okay, they're getting this figured out. So you have to think advantage Eskimos heading to the 4th. Momentum with them. A point away from an 11-point advantage.
Good job.
And the wind. But the BC Lions have Mike Riley. And no matter how many points he's down, no matter where he plays, he's always a factor, especially here in Edmonton, where he made so much magic for so long and wants to win one for the Lions tonight. We're headed to the 4th on Friday Night Football. A few years ago, the commercial was "Be Like Mike," and a lot of people wanted Trevor Harris to be like Mike Riley was in Edmonton, have that kind of success. Trevor told us yesterday he just wants to be Trevor Harris. He wants to be himself, and I'll tell you what, Trevor Harris himself is doing a job here tonight. The guys in the studio were talking about it before the game. Who has the most pressure? Is it Mike Riley coming back here, or is it Trevor Harris trying to show the Edmonton faithful what he can do? And guess what? He's showing it. He's relieving himself of any pressure.
Yeah, he certainly has. He's done a terrific job. Again, just his second week here with the Edmonton Eskimos, but a seamless transition. Again, it helps when you've got a guy like Greg Ellingson with whom you've played. You understand how he moves and where he's going to make his breaks, how he's going to read coverages, and so on. That's a great security blanket to have, but you know, there's that relationship with Jason Moss as well, understanding his scheme, understanding what he needs. And where the Eskimos have started to take over this ball game a little bit is when they've gotten back to that formula that made them successful last week, which included a lot of C.J. Gable, both as a rusher and as a receiver.
So Mike Riley back to work, where he engineered so many fourth-quarter comebacks and wins here at the Brickfield at
During the
Commonwealth.
return, holding BC number 26.
But not as an enemy.
10-yard penalty.
Not as a visitor. And now he has to do that. His team down 11 points in the 4th.
It will be half the distance to the goal. The number was 76 for the foul.
Right now, Trevor Harris has made 14 completions in a row. 14 in a row. Riley just 13 of 21. But he is Mike Riley. Eskimo D have been all over him. Here they come again. Down he goes again. And once again, it is Usher, the Crusher. Another sack here tonight.
Nick Usher having himself a night from his defensive end spot. He's at the top of your screen. Got Brett Boyko off balance a little bit that time. Boyko anticipating the outside rush. Usher doing a nice job using his hands. Getting underneath the big, tall offensive tackle.
The loss of 4, close to their own end zone. 3-man rush. Riley, down he goes, ball is out. Eskimos on top of it, whistle blows, and Mike Riley battered. Will make his way to the sideline, and now do the BC Lions give up the deuce here?
And third down for the BC Lions.
It's already a 2-possession game. Devon Claybrooks looks down. And they are against the wind already, which is blowing. You'd have to think they have to give up the safety here.
Yeah, I'm inclined. I mean, 11-point game, you can argue, is still a touchdown with a 2-point convert and a field goal. You force yourself into a 2-touchdown situation, but I'd opt for that.
Yeah, take the knee. Still a long way to go for the Lions.
And another 2 points off the board from the Eskimos, 36-23.
You look at the BC Lions offensively right now, and I know it's been this ongoing theme in this ball game and in the, I mean, really in the early going of this season. You had 3 100-yard rushers in week 1. Very successful offensive performances from Winnipeg with Andrew Harris getting it done, and Edmonton, C.J. Gable going over 150. BC's offense right now seems very one-dimensional, and they're facing a lot of pressure. Edmonton's doing a great job getting after them, and I find that the Lions haven't done much in terms of their play calling to do things to deter that rush, to slow down that rush, whether it's been things as simple as screen pass or draw, earlier in the ball game. Aside from the run game that we've talked about, it's a lot of Mike Riley dropping back to pass and the Eskimos knowing exactly where that launch point is going to be and coming after it.
Martese Jackson, good return. Talk about seizing momentum. There is Jarius Jackson, the offensive coordinator, former quarterback in the Canadian Football League, and has been around the sideline the last few years.
You know your free arm, right? Yeah. Keep that outside on your line.
You talk about an upheaval on the scoreboard, though, and on the field, and the way that this script has been flipped. If you joined us early, or if you weren't with us, BC was dominating, up 17-3. Then the switch flipped.
Yeah, completely. Since that time, the Eskimos have outscored them 33-6.
Well, they might not get a lot of the credit for tonight. Trevor Harris is putting up another night of high percentage numbers and big yardage. Look at the line score. 5 guys in this O-line have been outstanding for the Eskimos tonight.
You consider they're getting it done without one of their big free agent prizes in Sir Vincent Rogers.
They have kept bodies off of Harris. They have run over the Lions D. And there's a flag down.
Illegal block, ends to the face, Edmonton number 57. That penalty's declined, 3rd down.
One of their few blemishes tonight, center David Beard, so rare 2-and-out here. Eskimos actually began the game with a 2-and-out. Couple of them since that time. All green and gold. Brandon Rutley. brought BC back last week in their game against Winnipeg. Gave them a boost with a huge return for a touchdown. O'Neill, though, bounces it in front of him. Rutling, sideline. Lions and Mike Riley trying to get it going, and maybe it's 89 who can ignite them when we come back on Friday Night Football. Well, maybe Ed Hervey, general manager of the Lions, former GM here in Edmonton. There he is. They need a couple of perfect plays right now, 40. Riley turns, batted down, and what a night Nick Usher is having. Former star from UTEP has arrived.
Well, you wondered a year ago, you think about all the defensive ends that moved on from the Edmonton Eskimos. You see Usher coming off the edge, left side of your screen. You know, Odell Willis had moved on to BC, Philip Hunt, Marcus Howard. They got much younger at the position. There was an opportunity for other guys. Nick Usher was a guy who came in partway through the season, earned a starting job after going through training camp this year. And here, making a huge impact in week 2.
Here comes the blitz once more. Riley again has to scramble, and Mike Riley has to eat it. Again, the Eskimos making life miserable for their ex-teammate. And Riley to the sideline again. Another 2 and out.
Well, Diggs off the right side is the first one supplying pressure, gets his hands on Riley. Eventually, the tackle made by Jesse Joseph, former Montreal Alouette, brought in to beef up this rotation during the offseason.
Castillo. Martese Jackson, instant field position. Life getting worse for the Lions tonight. Eskimos front lines doing all the damage on offense and defense. Riley down again. Well, the gang from Dog River is back. Corner gas, animated. You know you're big time when you're animated. Season 2 premieres Monday, July 1st, only on comedy. No comedy here tonight for Mike Riley and the Lions. They have been beaten up. Trevor Harris looking to take it to them. A broken route. Ricky Collins wants a flag. There is one down.
Yeah, he got tangled up with the defender around the 30-yard line where that flag went down. It was Victor Gamboa in the Lions secondary.
Draws in this week.
Defensive pass interference, BC. The ball will be placed on the 32-yard line. Automatic first down for Edmonton.
Frustration mounts on that BC sideline. And of course, a turnover is something. No answers right now. No answer for Gable either. CJ Gable piles up some more yardage.
Well, this is an indication to me that you're starting to have fatigue set in a little bit on that BC Lions defense. The Eskimos have carried the play.
After yards were gained, holding Edmonton number 8, a 10-yard penalty, and it will result in a first down for Edmonton.
Eskimos have carried the play. They've dominated in the trenches on both sides of the ball, particularly since the end of the first quarter. And you're starting to see the effects of that. CJ Gable's totals start to climb. He's now up to 14 carries for 58 yards.
Harris adding to what he did last week. Another completion, another one to Ellingson. Tried to slip a tackle. Positive yardage for Greg Ellingson, having his breakout night. Second game in as an Eskimo, wearing the double E. Pair of touchdowns in this.
Well, it again speaks to the balance in the passing game for the Edmonton Eskimos. Last week it was Ricky Collins and Kenny Stafford having the big nights. Tonight it's been Greg Ellingson and Tavon Smith getting the lion's share of the catches.
Second and 2. Ellingson, by the way, tonight, 8 catches, 171 yards. Had a few of those kind of nights out east in the last few seasons.
We talked about BC being Edmonton West. Edmonton this year has kind of become Ottawa West. Yeah. As the Eskimos have in the lineup tonight 8 former Ottawa Redblacks and 3 more. And Sir Vincent Rogers, Andrew Marshall, and Joshua Stangby on the 6-game injured list. So 11 former Redblacks sporting green and gold this season.
Paris. Gable, another completion. CJ Gable bashes close to a first down again.
Second down.
General Manager Ed Hervey, former Eskimo himself, as player, scout, general manager. Traded that green and gold for black and orange last season, becoming the GM of the Lions. Lots of new parts this season, still trying to figure out how they all fit together.
23 of 30 for Harris right now, almost 300 yards again. It's McCarty in motion. Second and 4. CJ up the gut. Carries a few extra bodies. And looks like he carried them to another first down. It'll be first and goal, Eskimos, and a chance to polish this one away, you think. They can score on this drive.
Gable just getting north-south, lowering his shoulders. Look at all the big boys trying to give him a little boost.
How different has it been since that first quarter? Never mind the obvious score. How about first downs?
Edmonton, 24 first downs since the end of the first quarter. The BC Lions just 5.
CJ again. So likely going to throw the rock now. 7 minutes to go. Eskimos a chance to make it a 2-0 start on the season. Drop the Lions to 0-2. That's why you play 60 minutes, I guess. BC owned the first quarter.
Defensively, the Eskimos stayed true to what their game plan was in the first, which was to be very aggressive, get after Mike Riley. Put all sorts of duress on that Lions offensive line.
Looking Ellingson again. Harris standing in. He looks. Touchdown! Is there a signal? Ricky Collins. They are saying incomplete. Collins saying he had it.
That's a catch.
That is a catch.
Hey, it's a penalty, cuz.
Ricky Collins.
Oh my God.
Wants them to look at that.
Ruling on the field is an incomplete pass, and we had a major foul, face mask. Edmonton number 3 that will be enforced from the end of the play, back 15 yards, and third down.
So regardless, whether he had caught it or not, there's a face mask against Edmonton. Was this after the catch? It was. That is a catch.
I'm not convinced. It looked like the ball, to me, like the ball might have touched down between his arms here.
Wow. Well, maybe right there. Yeah, you may be right. But did it go from his chest to his arms as a cradle?
Yeah, it looked better from that angle.
Well, moot point, no challenge. White stayed perfect on the night. Sean White opens up the lead again. 16-point advantage on Friday Night Football in Edmonton.
In addition to the quarterback play, Coors Light answering the call at questions about Duron Carter. Milton wondered about him. 5 catches, just 33 yards, though not enough for that BC offense. Matty wondering about the Lions offensive line allowing 4 sacks, and of course the Edmonton secondary overall been a very good game. All Edmonton right now as we go back to Rod and Dwayne.
Right, you are, Rod. Lions need something in a hurry. Brandon Rutley, they go to the run game now and abandoned it after that first quarter. Had some success with John White. Not seen much of him since that first quarter. They've gone to Rutley.
Well, you look through the second and third quarters combined, the Lions' net rushing yards were 0.
The fact that White hasn't been in. And now Riley, all kinds of trouble again. Down he goes once more. And the Eskimos are on a roll. Make that 5 green and gold sacks. Armando Sewell usher the entire front line in again. Sewell got to him first.
A straight bull rush on the center, Hunter Stewart. Got an edge on him and just drove him back to the quarterback.
Welcome back, Mike. It hasn't been a kind welcome from his old mates. He has taken a beating. Hearing word they may have something from the eye in the sky. These guys have been partying all night.
Major foul. Roughing the passer.
So they are calling
Edmonton
that roughing
75.
the passer. They'll take away the sack.
First down.
Nick Usher may have hit Mike Riley a little high here.
Now watch for Usher coming from the left side of your screen. Right down the pipe.
And that is a call from the booth, and that is a good call.
It is, and this is, quite frankly, the purpose of the eye in the sky.
Oh boy, Riley. No wonder he was grimacing on the sideline. Yikes, that was a hit. So the Lions still alive, but barely. Matt O'Donnell, the cheerleader on the sideline. Riley's down. Sack squad continues.
Mike Moore, the latest to get in on the act.
I think these guys are running out of sack dances. Mike Riley again sacked here. Helmet hits the turf, and Matt O'Donnell, giant O-lineman. Guy who used to protect Mike Riley here in Edmonton.
Not so much anymore. Not so concerned about 13's well-being.
He looks like a beaten man right now. Riley again. And he's down. Flag down. Wondering if this is a hold here. They were holding on to his ankle.
Holding BC number 61. Penalties decline. Third down.
There might not be enough ice in that ice bath tonight for Mike Riley.
I mean,
it might be time just to say, you know what?
Yeah, I mean, that better be his last series.
Good
and
night.
I recognize he still had a chance at a 16-point deficit. I'm not sure I would have still had him in when that particular series got extended.
They have been feasting on Mike Riley like vultures tonight. The Edmonton Eskimos are 3:25 away. This Mike Riley comes back to his old team, his old town. Doug Flutie did it against Calgary in '96. He got a win. Ricky Ray against the Eskimos. The Argos lost. Henry Burris also took an L against the Calgary Stampeders. It's never easy. Darian Durant, remember that one against Saskatchewan? He got a win. But Mike Riley tonight is going to take a loss, it looks like, and he has taken his lumps. Lions next week does not get easier. They're in Calgary against the defending champions. The Eskimos go to Winnipeg. We haven't seen too many nights like this from Mike Riley.
And certainly not in this stadium.
No, but in this stadium tonight wearing an opposing uniform. It has not been pretty. Rocking it out in the end zone.
Play that funky music, white boy.
Smack this ass.
I do you every year. Every time I go, I do you. You suck.
Mic'd up behind the scenes. CFL Wired returns Wednesday. Exclusive access to the latest CFL football highlights. Catch at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. You're going to hear a lot of groans, grunts. Those Eskimos in those sack melees. Mike Riley sacked 6 times tonight on his return to Edmonton, which has been for Riley forgettable. And a fumble, but right to Edmonton. And the story in this game, beyond the obvious, the defense for the Eskimos, Trevor Harris, high percentage, has really been the turnaround. 1 quarter onward.
And again, the Eskimos, they came out of the gate slowly offensively, but defensively, they were on fire. They were cranked up and ready to go at the start of the game. A couple of penalties gave BC a second chance on their opening drive. They went down and scored. That kind of stemmed the momentum, but the Eskimos kept coming, didn't change their ways. That's obviously had an impact as this game has gone on.
There's a penalty flag. You know, it's almost like you're in a baseball game. The pitcher sets the tone early, a little high heat, you know, chin music. And they gave Mike Riley some chin music early on.
Yep.
And there was so much pressure all night long on 13. It was never alleviated, ever.
Yeah, and you got to believe there will be some adjustments made offensively for the BC Lions moving forward. You know, just making sure that they have some measures in place strategically to handle this. They want to be a deep ball team.
Edmonton number 26. This is a 10-yard penalty that will be enforced from the end of the run. It will be 2nd down.
Mike Riley on that sideline just counting up his bruises. Under his eye, his elbow. You said it, he got cranked a number of times. And they loved it. You know, Mike Riley was one of the most beloved athletes in this city ever. His teammates loved him. The city loved him. The game of football, though, crossed the line for 60 minutes. You love no one. And they have been showing him no affection.
Well, once the game starts, it doesn't matter that we were teammates for the last 4, 5, 6 years.
One of his best friends right there.
Yeah, Jason Moss. The two still talk regularly, and as Mike Riley says, it's much like when he left BC. Travis Lulay, one of his best buddies.
BC.
Just meant that the conversation wasn't as much about football anymore as much as it was about family and life. And so still a great relationship with Jason Moss. They just are on different sides of the football battles now.
Well, here's Mike Riley on Jason Moss.
the beauty of football in general, and especially the CFL being 9 teams, is that you build relationships that you'll carry with you for the rest of your life. And right there at the top is Jason Moss and his family. I mean, you know, I've talked to him dozens of times over the off season. It's been weird because it doesn't really come down to football talk anymore. It's kind of like when I left the relationship with me and Travis. You know, we talked a ton, but it was like football's kind of off limits a little bit because you can't give away any secrets, right? You know, but the Moss family will be friends with the Riley family forever.
Even after tonight? Boy, I wonder how our analysts in the studio feel about Mike Riley still chucking it there, still wanted to come in. I mean, the dogs are still out.
Sometimes you need to protect a guy from himself.
Almost blocked. Mike Riley and Jason Moss, friends forever. You know, teammates, coach, and player last year. Riley's going back in here. And here's Jason on Mike.
I'm not hiding behind it. I mean, Mike's one of my best friends, and I really enjoy his company the last 3 years and getting to know him and his family. And I felt like he does it the right way. You know, when you talk about quarterbacks who come in the building early, stay late, and are good leaders and are tough, can play through everything. I mean, Mike gave everything he had to this organization. I saw a lot of it, and you have that great appreciation for somebody.
Well, Mike Riley is back in. Talk about tough. Still hanging in. Maybe trying to get some rhythm. Still. Shaq Johnson laying up. After a while, too, you have to think even that D-line might not be as aggressive as they once were early in this game. This game is no longer in doubt.
Usher, who's been such a big part of that D-line success for the Eskimos. Looking a little bit nicked up. Hopefully nothing serious for him.
Minute 49 to play. Riley throws it in right near the first down marker. They'll go for it. It looks like it's a little bit short, or is it? Jerron Carter. Maybe the fact that Riley still getting some timing with some of these receivers, including Carter. New team, new era in BC.
On the scoreboard, in terms of time, you're looking, you go, there's still a slim chance.
Very slim.
Very slim. And again, Mike Riley is such an important asset, such an important part of what the BC Lions need to do going forward. You'd hate to see him, for all the hits he's taken tonight, take one late in the game that, I mean, Edmonton's had all the momentum.
After the play, major foul, unnecessary roughness, BC 88. First down, BC.
If you ever ask Mike Riley to come out of a game, though, you know what the answer is.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the kind of guy he is. That's why people have such an affinity for a guy who really became a legend here in Edmonton, a city that has spawned so many great quarterbacks. Mike Riley's on that list. Champion homecoming wasn't to be tonight, but Riley, he's going deep for Burnham. And Burnham coming back to the ball. He's looking for a call. He's not getting it. Mike Riley still gunning.
Godfrey Onyeka providing the coverage on that one. The second-year man out of Wilfrid Laurier. And that starting spot at the field corner position.
You can see, and again, it's early in the Riley era, that Mike Riley and Ryan Burnham could have a little something going as this offense grows.
Yeah, you got to believe eventually they're going to find their way.
2nd and 10, Riley again.
guys, students of the game.
They're not laying off. Watch Kwaku Boateng. Another shot Mike Riley takes, courtesy of his ex-teammates. Last gasp now. Hasn't been an easy start. His coaching career for Devon Claybrooks. And another sack. Again, you do not want to get Mike Riley hurt. That might have been
and
it was just like
jogging off
wide open
here.
Wide open again.
Yeah, taking a shot down low.
7-sack night. The Riley wrecking crew. Moore has a pair. Usher has a pair. Minute 14 to go. Gable. Almost all the way to the end zone, carrying bodies. Sure, the Eskimos don't need any more points, but they're not bringing them down. The Lions are.
Keep it on the ground, keep the clock running. Both sides in the trenches, they have imposed their will.
Trying to take this down to 42. The Eskimos off to a 2-0 start, 2019. Against a team that denied them a spot in the playoffs. 9-9 record. It's been a great start for those Western teams so far. Trying to find the end zone. He will. No, says the official on the line. Eskimos want to celebrate. 16 to go.
CJ getting a touch from inside the 5, one of those that he was looking for.
Backing in. A yard away, 12 seconds away from the final gun. You got to remember, rivals, 3-game series.
Yeah, 3-game series here, maybe a little less concerned about points for and against.
And they're going to just take it down. Take the knee, take the win. And the Edmonton Eskimos just pile on the visiting BC Lions after a rough first quarter and make the homecoming for Mike Riley a little miserable. A rude welcome back. And Chris Edwards, the former Eskimo, into it with his ex-mates. It was not a good night for all those Eskimos coming back to Edmonton. Here's what happened at the end. All taking a knee. And Trevor Harris and TJ Lee. And looking for Chris Edwards. Does not want to shake hands. Well, that is not the epitome of sportsmanship, but you can understand the frustration level from Chris Edwards and the BC Lions. Mike Riley's homecoming is spoiled in a very rude way. Here is our Nissan Titan players of the game, spoiled because of these guys.
No doubt about that. They came into this game fired up. They finished this game fired up. And in between, they were fired up. The Edmonton Eskimos defense, led by that front, posted 7 sacks of Mike Riley, had 108 passing yards in the first quarter, just 41 in the last 3 quarters combined. So tonight, the Edmonton Eskimos defense, collectively, our Nissan Titan player of the game.
Remember, the Lions had a 17-3 lead, and after that, it was all Edmonton. Kwaku Boateng, Nick Usher, Amondo Sewell, Mike Moore, doing all the damage. Tough night for Mike Riley on his return. He'll get another chance. These teams will meet 2 more times this season, but tonight, week 2, the Eskimos have win 2, 39-23. Greg Ellingson, a pair of touchdowns. Trevor Harris on the mark. Tomorrow, Ricky Ray Day in Toronto, the Cats and the Argos. Eskimos with a big chill tonight on the Lions. Good night from Edmonton. Here comes SportsCenter.